Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a slightly different vlog. As in, I've never done a vlog like this before, because, well, I've not had the opportunity to, and I don't think many people have done one like this. So, here's the thing. We all review books, don't we? Whether we are making videos talking about them, or just saying to, like, a friend or family member, whether, just telling them about whatever we happen to be reading. We're all reviewing books in some way. But has anyone ever reviewed the book Town? No? That's what I'm gonna do in this video. So yeah, you'll notice slightly different location from normal. I am in this little cottage that I'm currently renting for a few days. I've got it Monday to Friday. Today's Monday evening. I arrived about 45 minutes ago, give or take. I haven't properly unpacked, like I've got my bags and everything in, and I've had a quick run to the co-op, which is not even a 2-minute walk down the road, and gotten what I need for my dinner tonight. But yeah, I'm in Wigtown. So for anyone who doesn't know, Wigtown is Scotland's national book town. It's a very little town with a population of approximately 900 and an estimate of 15-ish bookshops. Or at least that's what I've been able to gather from the internet. I've done a lot of scouring and trying to figure out exactly how many bookstores there are in this town. But yeah, it has the highest it has like the highest percentage of books per capita or whatever it is. Bookshops per capita. Probably number of books as well, given how many bookshops there are. So yeah, over the next couple of days, I'm going to take you with me as I try and explore as many of the bookshops as possible. And I have this, I've given myself a kind of challenge. I've only taken one, caveat, I've taken my Kindle, just in case, but I've only taken one book with me. And that is the Whitby Witches, which I am reading for another vlog, and really enjoying, but just struggling to pick up again. I'm about halfway through it. So my plan tonight is I'm going to sit and read that. Because it's about 5:30 now. This is a really small, cozy, quiet little town. There's literally, I mean, other than go out to a restaurant to eat, there's literally nothing else to do at this time of night. Or for the rest of the night. So yeah, I'm going to read The Whitby Witches. And then, once I finish that, I have to go and buy a book, essentially. And then I will start whatever book I buy, and I will review that. I want to say, like, I'm only going to buy a book, finish that, and I can't buy another book until I finish that book, but we all know me, and we all know bookworms. And when you put a bookworm in a book town, there's no way I'm only buying 1 or 2 books. There's no way I'm only buying a book tomorrow. You know, I budgeted for this, okay? I'm going to buy a couple of books. It's just how it's going to be. But yeah, I'm going to take you guys around, and I'm going to show you the bookstores, and just the town in general, and maybe, weather depending, go for a couple of walks, view the countryside, and by the end of the video we can decide together, do we like Wigtown or not? Yeah. Well, on that note, I'll see you tomorrow. Good afternoon. It's, I don't know what time is. What time is it? It's about 1:15, a little after lunchtime. I had a wonderful lunch that consisted of tea and a slice of cake, because I'm on holiday and why not? How have I spent my morning? I had a really nice, lovely, chill, lazy morning. I got up about a little bit before 8. It's this amazing thing, because my Wi-Fi switched off, my 4G switched off, I'm in airplane mode, and I left my laptop downstairs in the living room. I have literally no connection to the internet other than through my laptop, which means that this morning I couldn't just pick my phone up and immediately start doom scrolling and browsing and whatever whatever else I do first thing in the morning. So I woke up and I lay back there for 5-10 minutes, and then I got up and I started my day. And isn't that an incredible feeling? It was just so wonderful, and I'm like so glad I've made this decision to be completely uncontactable and cut off from the rest of the world. Yeah, it's been wonderful. So I did that. I came downstairs, I made some coffee, and I had cake for breakfast. Like, your girl likes what your girl likes, okay? This weekend on Saturday, I actually went a bit baking mad. I think I made like 4 or 5 different things on Saturday. I gave a whole bunch of them to a friend I met up on Sunday, but I took a whole bunch of baking with me, which is great for breakfast and things, and for just like little snacks in the evening. But yeah, so I did that. I finished the last chapter of The Whitby Witches. Yeah, it was fine. I'm going to do a proper update on that later tonight, which you guys will see in the My Friends Made Me Read It vlog, which will also come up pretty shortly. But yeah, it was like, I'm definitely glad I read it. But it did lose steam for me personally a little bit towards the end. But yeah, I read that. With the completion of The Whitby Witches, that meant I had no physical book. And yeah, also, I think I mentioned that I brought my Kindle with me, but turns out my Kindle's dead because it's been a while since I read something on it, and I forgot to take a cable that will charge it. So, oh, what a shame. I had to buy something today. Otherwise, I literally had nothing to read, and we cannot be on a bookish holiday with nothing to read. So I went book shopping. So I chatting to one of the bookstore owners. Wigtown has 14 bookshops. I've been to 3 of them so far. So I went to the open bookshop. That is the one that you can rent as an Airbnb. I'm aware that there's someone walking towards me, but I'm just going to continue. It's fine. I bought a book in there. It was really nice chatting to the folk that were actually running it this week. This is the second day they've opened it. They were only open for a couple of hours yesterday. And yeah, they're enjoying it so far. But what I might do is pop in sort of like the end of the week, maybe on Friday, and just be like, so, how are you guys still enjoying this? But yeah, they booked it like 2.5 years ago. And yeah, their best advice they could give for anyone who wants to try out. Because the open bookstore, it's an Airbnb where you rent the flat above the bookshop, but you also run the bookshop for the week. So if you have ever dreamt of owning your own bookshop, this kind of gives you a taster, which I think is absolutely wonderful. But yeah, their best advice is to just keep checking every day. Cancellations come up, and we get there. So yeah, I bought one book there. I bought The Girl with the Creel by Doris Davidson. This is an author that I read years ago, not long out of high school, I think. She is a Northeast author. She writes books all set in the Northeast, and she's from the Northeast. And I remember really enjoying it. I actually think it was The Girl with the Creel is the one that I read. I remember really enjoying it, but it's also from Buckie. It's also set in Buckie, which is my hometown. But it's set sort of the backdrop of World War I think. So I got that. I'll do a proper book haul when I get home, when I'm back in the cottage. But yeah, after that I popped into the bookstore, which claims to be the largest secondhand bookstore in Scotland. I'm just gonna say it. Leakey's is bigger. Leakey's definitely had a bigger selection. But yeah, that was fun. I picked up a couple books there, and then I popped into Reading Lasses, which is a feminist bookstore run by women for women. And this is a really nice little bookstore. They also double up as a cafe. So I did pick up a couple of books there. What I particularly like about them is, as well as a whole bunch of secondhand literature, it's all very female based. They had an entire wall of just lesbian books, which I absolutely love. But they also stock from small independent publishers who specialise in publishing from women. So there's the Great British There's the British Library Women Writers. I got a book from them. They're also one of the few stockists for Persephone books. So I didn't buy anything published by Persephone, but I might. They're closed tomorrow, but they're open for Thursday, Friday, so there's still time to go back in there, and I probably will. I think I'll probably nip in there for lunch maybe on Thursday, because I did not buy soup, but the soup smells so good, so we'll see. But yeah, Persephone is a book store and publisher based in Bath, and they specialise in publishing the forgotten works of women from the early 20th century, late 19th century, and I've got 1 or 2 books from them already. Absolutely everything they produce is quality, so totally worth checking them out. And yeah, after that I have come down to the harbour, which is about maybe half a mile outside of town, if that. It's not long, it's like a 10-minute walk. And I'm gonna sit with my book for a little while and just enjoy the sun, because I don't know if you can see, it's like glorious blue skies and it's absolutely wonderful out here. I've really gotten lucky with the weather, because this weekend in Scotland was just like the entirety of Scotland was under a yellow weather warning. We had our first named storm of the year, or the season, whatever. So yeah, but yeah, I'll catch you guys up later this evening. Okay, hi. I don't have anywhere particularly good to prop you guys up, so you're just gonna have to stay there. I forgot my tripod, so yay for weird, unflattering angles. But anyway, it is about 4 o'clock. I'm back in the cottage, as you can see. I finished my wandering about. I didn't visit any more bookstores, but there's still time. There's still like 2 more days. 3, really, if we count Friday. So plenty of time. But I wandered around the harbour, went over to Bird Point, because there's some really good bird watching, apparently, in this area. I think there are ospreys in the area. But mostly it was just really, really nice views, and it was just such a good... honestly, today has been glorious. And yeah, I sort of like wandered a bit over. I saw the Martyr's Stake, which is where 2 Margarets, basically these 2 women were tied to and drowned because they were Covenanters. And they were the last 2 in this area, or the only 2 in this area. I can't remember. But I went and I had a look over there, and then I slowly wandered back to the cottage via the yarn shop, because why not? So I figure before I settle in for the night, I'm going to nip out in an hour or 2, probably closer to an hour, because I'm already feeling kind of hungry. I've not actually eaten since like the slice of cake I had, which was about 11:30, 12ish. Yeah, I thought there was like an actual restaurant where you could eat in the evening in Wigtown. There's not. So if I do want to eat out in the evening, I'm gonna have to go into Newton Stewart. And I'm debating right now. There's like this internal argument. Do I want to drive more than I have to? Even though it's literally 5 minutes down the road. So we'll see how we get on. For tonight, though, I am still very much just wanting to chill. So I'm just going to go to the Chippy, which is like a 2-minute walk around the corner, grab something there, and that'll be me for the night. But yeah, in the meantime, before I settle in and do a little bit more reading, I thought I'd show you guys what I've bought today. Rather than doing one big haul at the end of the video, I'm just going to give them as we go. So the first bookstore I went into was the Open bookstore. That is the one that is the Airbnb. And yeah, I believe earlier I told you that I picked up The Girl with the Creel by Doris Davidson. Like I said, this is set in Bucky. It is basically about a young girl who falls in love with a married man, and through a series of misunderstandings, she is essentially forced to flee. And it is set against the backdrop of World War One, or the lead up to World War One, I believe. But it's essentially the story of her surviving, and you know, as long as she has the creel upon her back, she will be fine. And it is, I think it's a story of like female and inner strength. If it is the book that I remember reading, it's absolutely wonderful. And if not, I already know I like Doris Davidson, so yeah, I'm in for a good treat. After that, I went into the bookshop, which claims to be the biggest secondhand bookstore in Scotland. Leakey's is definitely bigger. But, you know, who am I to gainsay? But whilst I was there, I picked up The Real Story by Stephen Donaldson. This is the first book in the Gap into Conflict trilogy. This is a classic retro sci-fi about space piracy. So I'm here for that. It's quite short. It's about 200 pages. So if nothing else, I think it's going to be a fun, interesting read. And I also picked up The Crystal Prison by Robin Jarvis. I think I'm a way to enter, and potentially, of course, as soon as I say this, I won't be, but I'm potentially a way to enter a Robin Jarvis kick because I've just finished The Whitby Witches. I own and have read book 1 of The Deptford Mice, which is, I think it's just called The Deptford Mice. The Dark Portal. Book 1 is called The Dark Portal. That, like, hands down, is like one of my favourite books from my childhood that I've brought with me into adulthood. It is creepy, it is terrifying. Robin Jarvis doesn't really hold back with the scariness. Like, he writes some really scary, really scary stuff. And yeah, this is book 2, which follows the same group of mice. They have survived the horrors and terribleness of book 1. They have moved away and they're settling in, and this is the next chapter in their story and the next adventures, which I think involves one of them being accused of murder. So yeah, excited to get started in this at some point. Maybe tonight, we'll see. After that, I went into reading lessons. Now, of the 3 bookstores that I visited today, Reading Lessons has definitely been my favourite one, and it is going to be one to beat. That is a store, that is a bookshop to beat. It is absolutely slung itself in there as in like my top 5 bookshops of all time. It's on par with Mr. B's in Bath. It's on par with The Strand. I'm putting it up there with Leakey's. Maybe it's one of my top 4 bookshops of all time. But yeah, Reading Glasses is a feminist bookstore that is it's owned by women, it's run by women, it's there for women. Men are, and other genders are obviously all allowed and welcome, but they've predominantly focused on literature by women. And as I said earlier, they are, as well as a lot of like your regular books and a lot of secondhand books, they also stock small selections of very specific indie publishers. They stock Persephone's and they stock books from the British Library Women's Writers. So the one that I picked up is 1 Year's Time by Angela Milne. This is essentially the story about a young woman who enters into a sexual relationship with a man, and we explore that. It's not graphic or anything, but we're exploring all the feelings and how she fell. She is utterly smitten. But this is set in the early 40s. It was published in 1942. So it's set round about then. And possibly like the lead up. I think it's set sort of like in those early years in the lead up to the war. Not necessarily during the war. But we are basically exploring how women have a lot more autonomy over their own body. And what was not socially acceptable a handful of years ago is. Women can enter into relationships and have a job and all of that. So we're kind of just exploring that, and sort of like there's not this great need to get married if she doesn't want to. So I have read the first part. I'm now on page 67. I am really enjoying this. It's quite I don't want to say it's like a slow, gentle read, but it's not high paced, it's not high octane, it's not high energy. We are following Liza and her point of view, although it is told third person. We are getting a lot of her thoughts, and we're just watching how she is evolving as a person. So I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm not sure I'll continue with it tonight. I think it is one I want to read in sort of like a bit at a time, just to let it digest and to just kind of go with it. But it's very much, it's all character, it's all feels, minimal plot. But yeah, really glad I picked this up. I sat and read this in the sun for a little bit because it's, despite being the end of October, is still warm and sunny enough this week, or today at least, that yeah, I sat for an hour or two down at the harbour reading. I also started this in reading classes where I sat down, and that was where I had my cake and my tea, and it was lovely. And honestly, the people and like the staff are just so incredibly warm and welcoming. I walked in, and there's sort of like, it's quite an interesting and fun one because it is in an old house, or it's in what used to be a house, but rather than like gutting it and making an open plan, kind of kept a lot of that structure. So you walk in and there's like a little seating area with some bookshelves, and then you have to go into a side room for most of the books, and that's where most of like the second-hand books are, and where some of their indie publishers' books are, excuse me, and then you come back out of there, and then you go back and into like a back room, which is where I sat and read, and that's where they've got the Persephone books, and they've got a few more, and then there's like more seating further back. It's absolutely wonderful. But as you walk in, there's someone there to greet you, and it was like I was immediately like asked, it was like, you here to browse books, have a bit of cake? And I was like, both here. And she's like, do you want to have your cake and browse, or there? She's like, tell you what, if you want to have a wee browse of your books, have a wee browse, you can absolutely do that. Just let us know when you're ready for a bit of cake and we'll get you a seat. So I did that. I grabbed my 2 books and I was like, I need to pay for my books, but I also want tea and cake. She's like, absolutely no problem. You can pay for them when you pay for your food. So I sat down. They ran through this entire, she was like, do you want to have a look at the cakes? I was like, absolutely yes. And she just ran through this entire list of cakes. I mean, there was like 20 plus different cakes that you could choose from, between cakes and tray bakes and things. And she ran through that so much. I was left there going, I don't know what I want, but I am so impressed that you managed to like name and remember everything on this list. That's incredible. So I ended up having sort of like a vanilla cake with a caramel mascarpone icing, which is absolutely wonderful. So much, so perfectly baked. Absolutely, like 10 out of 10. Absolutely adored. And yeah, I also, when I was there, they had a shelf with sort of like Women's Prize fiction, Pulitzer Prize winners and all that. So I finally picked up The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is the story of Achilles and Patroclus. I've been meaning to read this. Everyone adores this, apparently. I don't know, I'm kind of a bit over retellings, but I feel like if there's one that I'm still going to be okay with, it's going to be Song of Achilles. So I had been meaning to pick this up anyway. So I did. There. But yeah, after that made me wondering things. I did pop into, because about 3 doors down on the other side of the road from where the cottage is, there is a little yarn shop. So I popped in there and had a great wee chat with the women It's been interesting chatting to like a few people. It's like the town, like she described it as a ghost town, and I'm like, I absolutely love the fact that it's so quiet and sleepy compared to sort of like the last couple of weeks where it has just been sort of like very busy and a lot of people milling about. Because of the book festival, I've come, I think it's a week after the book festival. So the town's kind of recovering and it's just having the entire town just feels like it's just having a breather, which is perfect because I feel like that's what this holiday for me is. But yeah, when I was there, I picked up a wee cross stitch kit to maybe do sort of like over the evenings when I don't want to be reading, because I mean I could read 24/7, but you know, let's give it a break. So I picked up that to do if I want to. I picked up, it is a book of Beatrix Potter knitting patterns. It's called Knitting Peter Rabbit, but it's got we've got Jemima Puddle Duck, we've got Mr. Fox, Jeremy Fisher. It's not just Peter Rabbit. And I just thought the designs are absolutely adorable. You can see some of them on the back. So I had to pick it up, right? But whilst I was also there, I noticed they've got a calendar, and I thought, well, we'll get to the end of the year. I'm going to need a calendar anyway, right? This is a calendar that is actually 12 knitting patterns. And they're all by this local woman who lives up in Newton Stewart, which is sort of like the next town along from Wigtown. And how awesome is this, guys? You've heard of tea cozies? How about chocolate orange cozies? Yes? Yes? Uh-huh. So I am absolutely going to be trying some of these out when I get home. I did refrain from, because I don't have any needles or yarn with me. I only have cross stitch. Just why I bought another one, of course, go me. But yeah, I refrain from picking up needles and yarn because it is an indie yarn seller, and unfortunately, you know, boutique yarn and hand-dyed yarn, they're pricey. And your girl's already spending too much money on books. 3 bookstores, 5 books. You know, I can do that math. Yes, 3 of them were second-hand, so realistically, I think I've only spent about 30 quid on books, which I actually think is pretty decent. Yeah, closer to 60 if you include 70, if you include the knitting ones, but yeah. Anyway, that is my update. It has been a really long, rambly one, but you know, we're allowed to. We're reviewing a Booktown. You must know all my thoughts. But yeah, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have a cup of tea. I'm already sitting down. But I'm going to sit on the sofa, because I'm currently on the floor. Have a cup of tea and maybe read for a little bit. I can't decide. I'm either going to start... It's either going to be A Crystal Prison or A Song of Achilles. I'll let you know later tonight what I start and how I got on with it. And yeah, I have no clue what I'm going to do tomorrow. Visit more bookstores. I've been told that there are 14 here. I visited 3 of them. I've got a lot more visiting to do. There's one that I think specialises in sort of like mythology, retellings and just like recounting and like not non-fiction, because mythology is not non-fiction, but you know what I mean. I think I know where it is. I think it's the bookstore. I think if it's the one I'm thinking of, I did try to go there, but it was closed. So it's open tomorrow, and yeah, I'll show you. You know what? I'll show you all tomorrow. I'm gonna go have my cup of tea now. Alright, hi. It's now a little after 3 on Wednesday afternoon. I did not update you guys last night or this morning. Last night mostly because by sort of like 9, half 9, I was zonked. I was so out of it. I slept so well last night. But yeah, I did start reading the Stephen Donaldson, The Real Story. I got about 45 pages into it, and I have DNF'd that book. I see what he's trying to do. He's telling this story in each chapter is like a different scene, and it's like, here's what you would have seen, and here's what observers think would have happened, but that's not the real story. And it's sort of like every chapter is a bit like that. We seem to be focusing on one of the characters in the blurb, on the ore pirate. But I don't think it's being told chronologically, and it's not 100% clear about that. Because at one point we were in this bar, and then him and the captain are racing off to potentially go rescue someone or loot their ship. And then the next they're back in the bar, and the pirate has the woman mentioned in the blurb, and then the pirate is running away, and then he's being arrested, and then he's being arrested, and then he's back on the ship, and I was so confused. I was a bit all over the place. Possibly if I'd stuck with it, it would have started to make a lot more sense, but I wasn't feeling it, so I DNF'd it. This morning I had a very nice, quiet, sedate morning. I picked up Song of Achilles. I'm really enjoying this. I'm on chapter 7 on page 55. And yep, really, really enjoying it. Patroclus has now been sort of like exiled for accidentally killing a boy. This whole happened, like, I'm only on page 50, so very little spoilers here. And he is now with King Peleus and has a growing friendship with Achilles. And it's absolutely wonderful. What I had not realised at all, and this, I don't know if this has been mentioned and I've just glazed over it, or if it's just something folk are not mentioning, but this is told first person by Patroclus, which absolutely, like, I don't know why I'm blown away by this, but I am. I think it's just because I really wasn't expecting that. But it's just really, really adding to the soul and the heart of this story, and it is just absolutely wonderful. I know this is going to make me cry, so I'm really excited for that. But yeah, in terms of what I've been doing today, like I say, it's almost 3, so I've been out, I've had a wee wander, I've visited a few more bookshops. I'm currently sitting in the little... I'm currently sitting in the little garden area of my little cottage. Because there's the thing, it's like I've had to put my jumper on because it's not like super warm, but it is still such a lovely day that if you can be outside, I think you should. We've had such a meh summer. It's not been a terrible summer, but it's not been a great summer either. So to have nice enough weather that you can sit outside at the end of October, like, you gotta just take it. You gotta do it. Let's see if I do that. Haha, kinda works. But yeah. What did I do? I got up, had a sort of like quiet, chill morning, started reading Song of Achilles, caught up on the Bake Off because I didn't watch it last night. I think the right person went. You know, he made a choice, it did not work out. He made a very risky decision, and that risk didn't pay off, and he knew it, and that was fine. So I'm like, we're far enough on that it's like, it's sad whenever any of them go, because you're kind of attached to all of them at this point, but, you know, I wasn't like, it didn't feel unjustified. And Paul Hollywood has eased up on his handshakes. I don't think we've had words. So what happens if you spend all week just like not necessarily talking to people? But yeah, no, 2 episodes now. We've not had a Hollywood handshake, which I'm okay with, because for the first 3 episodes, because yeah, last night was episode 5. For the first 3 episodes, we were getting like a handshake every episode, and that's just. I was like, we were back. I was like, oh, is this gonna be one of those seasons? Because every couple of seasons, he just goes a bit daft with the handshakes. And when you get a handshake on episode 1, you just start thinking, guys, come on, really? Is this the season you've got us in for? Who knows? Yeah, but yeah, so I caught up on that, which was really nice. And then I took a small wander. I want to say like into town. I took a small wander into the bookshops. With the exception of one, I have bought a book in every shop I have entered so far. I knew I was going to buy a few, but I genuinely didn't expect to buy this much. I don't have the books outside with me, so I will give you a little book haul later this evening when I guess I give you a reading update at some point. Because like I say, it's only 3 o'clock and I'm going to sit outside for a little while and then probably go inside. We're just chilling. It's just super easy. But yeah, where did I go to? I first went into Buyer Books, which, oh my gosh, is so cute. It's so lovely. Okay, guys, I've not been brave enough to film inside any of the bookstores or ask if I could film inside any of the bookstores because I don't know, I think if I'd come during the festival, I might have been a bit more okay with it because there's so much more people milling about. But it is so quiet. I'm just feeling a bit self-conscious in terms of filming in the stores and things. But I did film a little clip, which I think you guys have already seen, showing like the little like passageway to Buyer Books, which is absolutely wonderful. So it is just sort of like tucked in this like outhouse. It's essentially in someone's garden. It's absolutely wonderful. But inside, it's all dedicated to mythology and folklore, and they had a really nice sci-fi fantasy section. And it's all secondhand. It's something I knew there was going to be a few secondhand bookstores, but I hadn't actually realised that the majority of the bookstores here are secondhand. In fact, I don't think I've entered one yet that doesn't have secondhand. Everything, at most, it's been in terms of like new books, I think the most I've seen is sort of like a 50-50 split between new and secondhand. I will say that every bookstore here that I've been in has had something different, which is really nice and to an extent unexpected, because when you've got sort of like, I think it's something like 14 bookstores in total in this, or 14 stores you can buy a book, not necessarily specifically bookstores. You do kind of expect them all to feel a bit samey after a while, but I will say they all have their own individual personalities. And yes, there's a certain amount, there's like a significant amount of crossover, but I feel like, with a couple of exceptions, things like Song of Achilles, everything I've bought, I've only been able to buy in that store. Especially all the secondhand. Like I bought a number of secondhand books. Those have been books I've only found in those stores. Yeah. So yeah, went into Buyer Books, and immediate impression was, I found the store that's going to give reading lasses a run for their money, because it is just so cute and it's so charming, and it's just really, it's just cute and charming and wonderful. Absolutely, I spent a good half an hour in there. It was lovely. After that, I went into Old Bank Bookshop, which I didn't think I was going to get much from this store. I kind of thought it was more focused on sort of like art and literature books, like art books and music books and like music scores and things, and it does have a lot of that, but it also just has a huge variety of books, a very small curated selection of new books, one of which I did buy, but also like just this huge selection of secondhand, and every topic under the sun. It's Also, it's very much a TARDIS in there. Again, you know, yesterday the bookshop was claiming to be the biggest secondhand bookstore in the UK. I think the Old Bank bookshop is giving it a run for its money. Um, and I also feel like the reception I got in there was a bit nicer. The owner he was sort of like tidying up and he was doing the hoovering in the back at one point, and every time he passed, he stops and have a little chat, and it was really really wonderful. Um, yeah, it was a bit of a maze. I was ready to pay for my book. I had to go up to him. I was like, "Can I buy this book, please?" And he's like, "Well, I don't think I've ever said no to someone asking that question." I was like, "Yes, but how? Where do I buy the book? Because I'm now in like the center of this book labyrinth." So I literally he had to give me directions to get back to sort of like the front of the store where there is like this little like window in amongst the bookshelves where I can like he can slide behind and I can actually pick for the book. So that in itself was a really nice little experience. After that, I think it was about it must have been about 11, half 11 by this point. So I was like, no, it was about 11. So I was like, right, okay, that's cool. I'm ready to like stop for an hour or two and just sit with a bit of cake and read. So reading lessons was closed today, but Booked and Baked was open. Now I was really excited because how can you not be excited about a bookstore called Booked and Baked, right? Cue disappointment. This is the only bookstore I've walked into and I've been disappointed. So I walk in and there's like a little bit of shelves. Again, it's all second hand, but not a great selection, not a huge selection. Um, but I thought that's fine. They've got all the menus out, and it's very much like standard cafe fare. So I walked up and I was like, actually no, it wasn't. It was half 11 because I remember thinking, I know it's a bit early, but chances are the soup is ready. So I goes up and I was like, is there any chance the soup of the day's ready? And they weren't rude, but the response was very much, no, it's not quite ready yet. It's almost like, ask a silly question. So I was like, right, okay, fine. So I was like, well, it's fine. I'll have a bit of cake or something. I had cake for lunch yesterday. I can have cake for lunch 2 days in a row. I'm not, I'm not picky that way. So I look over their selection of bakes, and there was a couple of scones, millionaire shortbread, and that was kind of it. I was like, it's half 11. There should be something. So I ended up just having a scone, which was about like case size. It wasn't exactly a generous scone, and a pot of tea, and I think I was in there for like maybe 20 minutes. I read a chapter. I was like, you know what, I'm really not feeling this bookstore. I had a little look, but they had like two like standard shelves of fiction. They had a decent cookery selection, but that was kind of it. So yeah, I think by the end of this holiday, I will be ranking like the bookstores in order of preference, and I think Booked and Baked is gonna be at the bottom. That'll be a hard one to beat in terms of disappointment. But that was fine. It was fine. I left. It was cool. I wandered into, I can't remember the store, but it's like a little like home and garden store. And I ended up buying a really nice candle. It's book themed, of course. But by this point, we're approaching. Did anyone come to the bookstore after that? No. But yeah. By the time I'd sort of like wandered through there, so we're approaching half 12 and I've had a scone, and it's like, you know what, I am actually still kind of peckish. I am still kind of hungry. So I went into Cafe Rendezvous, and that was wonderful. That was really, really nice. I had a cheese and leek quiche, which came with fries, which were so incredibly crispy, like top notch. And I also had a slice of carrot cake and a standard pot of tea, as you do. So I'm not gonna lie, that was a couple of hours ago now, and I am still so full. Oh man, like it was really really good. So I was in there for about an hour and a half. just chilling, and they were quite content to just leave me be. I wasn't the only customer who was in there. There was a gentleman who was in there when I arrived, and he was still there when I left. So they are obviously quite happy and used to folk just coming and really just taking their time. So it was nice. I read a decent chunk, and just did a bit of people watching, and the atmosphere and the music they were playing was just, it was just spot on, absolutely perfect. After there, I left and I went to, oh, what is the name of the bookstore I went to? Well Read Books. I have been to so many bookstores, the names are all starting to blend together. But I went into Well Read Books. And this is the shop I bought the most from, because I came out with 5 books. Yeah. Only one of them was brand new though, so, you know. But 5 books, and it cost me less than 20 quid. So, you know, justified, right? But again, this was an absolutely wonderful store. I wasn't 100% certain what I was coming into. I think Well Read Books, from what I can remember, is one of the newest stores. And again, even though technically it's selling the same as most of the other bookstores, it still felt different. It has its own personality. Curiously, it's the only place today I felt chilly. It is a little bit cold in that bookstore. But yeah, so God knows what it's going to be like in the depth of winter. But yeah, that was really lovely. They've got a whole selection of brand new books that are like a $5 or 3 for $12. Nothing really appealed to me in there, so didn't buy from there. But they're sort of like all interspersed between all the not the non-fiction, all of the, they're like in like little tables throughout the store, and then on the walls you've got the secondhand. I had to resist, but they had like 2 full shelves of folio editions, folio societies, and I mean, we all know those are some of the prettiest editions you will come across. Like folio society, they are like the OG when it comes to your special editions, okay? They're good books. They're really special. So they had a couple of titles. I was like, oh, I could. I think what I might do is assess my finances on Friday morning, and then go back and see. Just because, yeah, they had a copy of the Moomin Troll. They also had the Once Future King and a few other titles. I was like, oh, so tempting. So incredibly tempting. But yeah. Yeah. After that, I was kind of done for the day. I was like, I've spent a lot of money so far. There are still a few more bookstores I need to go to. There's a few that weren't open today. I was going to go into New Chapter. Where's New Chapter, the new one? I don't know. But yeah, they were closed today. They've got I'm really enjoying, every time I walk past them, I'm like, ooh. Because their window display is just really, it's all like witchy books, and they're almost drawing on that like Wicca occult theme is like their Halloween window display, and I'm here for it. It's looking good. Yes, I'm gonna go visit them tomorrow, and there's a couple of like the antique store and the Emporium, and I might have a look in the little community shop and sort of like do a couple of like the few remaining shops in Wigtown that are not bookshops. But yeah, but that's been my day so far. With the I think with the exception of Booked and Baked, again, it's been another exceptional day. I have to say that just the people of Wigtown are so lovely. They're so friendly, so welcoming. Another thing I really liked about Cafe Rendezvous is they did not comment on my dress, because I am wearing my book dress. Because quite frankly, if you cannot wear a book dress in a Booktown, where can you wear it? However, by the time I went for lunch, I was getting a little sick of people stopping me and commenting on my dress. I have had, like, easily in the double figures, okay, where I'm not talking about like one or two people. I mean, I stepped out the door. I just finished locking the door to leave, and someone was like, "Oh wow, I love your dress," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." But I've had that. "Oh, thank you so much," so many times so far today. I only have one other dress with me that I've not already worn, so I took 3 dresses with me for the 5 days, because you know dresses last more than one day, guys. But I think it might be the other one. I don't know. I might still put this on, but depending on what, I don't know. Depending on how I'm feeling tomorrow, I might just wear the other one. But we'll see. Anyways, this update is now 20 minutes long. This is not going to be a short vlog, apparently. Ah well. But yeah, I'm gonna finish drinking my cup of tea, which is probably gone cold by now. Read a little bit more. The wind is starting to pick up, so I don't know how much longer I'll be sitting outside. And yeah, I will give you an update later tonight with how I'm getting on with Song of Achilles, whether I pick anything else up, what else I do tonight, and I will show you all the books I bought. And in the meantime, see you in a bit. Hey, so I am starting to get really cozy and snuggled in for the night, which means I have got to chat to you now, or I won't. This is what I learned last night. It's, gosh, what is it, like 10 to 8? Yeah, I read for a little bit more. I'm now just over 100 pages into Song of Achilles, and I am absolutely loving it. I totally understand the hype. Patroclus is just such a cute little cinnamon bun. Like, seriously. I'm really, beyond like the bare basics of the story of Achilles, I can't remember too much about it, which I'm really grateful for because I think it's helping me with this reread. I find that retellings I'm a bit more familiar with, or what I'm really struggling with. So not being as familiar, or I'm familiar with the tale of Achilles, I'm just, yeah, struggling to recall the details. And to be honest, I can't remember anything about Patroclus, so yes, excellent. Treating it like just an original story. That's the best way for me to go into it. Although I do appreciate it is not like fully original, you know. Madeline Miller, as excellent as she is proving to be, obviously did not create Achilles and Patroclus. She's just borrowing them. But she is making such excellent use of them. Absolutely adore it. Yeah, if anything happens to Patroclus, I'm gonna be heartbroken. I don't care about Achilles. I kind of vaguely know his ending, so that's okay. I'm prepared for what's coming, and quite frankly, I'm not in his head, so I'm not as attached to him, but I am so incredibly attached to Patroclus. So, yeah. Let's hope nothing happens to him when I'm reading in public. That's all we need to say. But yeah, I've had some supper, and I've also been watching some of The Untamed, because apparently it leaves Netflix tomorrow. Seriously, Netflix, why? Why do we do this? Yeah, no. I'm gonna have to check when I get home if it's still on Viki or not. Otherwise, I need to figure out how to get my hands on like the DVDs or something, because I freaking love The Untamed, guys. So, yeah. However, that is not important. That's not what this update is about, because I promised you guys today's book haul, which is not insignificant. So, first bookstore I went into was Briar Books, which was the cute little mythology, folklore one. There I picked up The Limbrith Gate by Megan Lindholm. I have read everything she has written as Robin Hobb, including Soldier Sun trilogy. We don't talk about that. I might give that a repeat one day. But I have read everything she has written as Robin Hobb. So I kind of want to start collecting and reading what she's published as Megan Lindholm. This is not a book one, unfortunately. But I figured since it was there, I'm just going to grab it. And it was £4, so, you know. I think as far as secondhand books, £4 is the most I've paid this trip, so I am very much feeling lucky and not begrudging any of the prices. But I also picked up, it's called The Flying Sorceress by David Gerald and Larry Niven. Um, how awesome is this cover? Like, let's face it, this cover is looking pretty awesome. And it's, I'm just going to read you guys the back of it. I know I don't read blurbs very often, but I'm just going to read you the back of it because I just think this sounds so much fun. So, Sugar was absolutely livid, a natural state for any self-respecting witch doctor. But this time he had a reason. His territory had been invaded by a completely insane shaman who hadn't the grace to announce himself and didn't even appear to know the common ground rules for the Magician's Guild. And what's more, the idiot dared to practice witchcraft without having first made his gift to the local witch doctor, who happened to be the mighty Sugar. In an absolute fury, Sugar prepared his most ghastly spells to drive the foreigner away. Little did he know that the stranger had quite a few ghastly spells of his own to fall back on. So, if that doesn't sound like an absolute romp of a read, I don't know what does. I'm really hoping that it's going to be it's just going to be a lot of fun and a lot of banter back and forth. But we'll see. It's incredible. When this was first published, it cost £65. So this was published in 1975. Back in 1975, so what? 50 years ago? Almost. A book cost 65 pence. Nowadays, a brand new paperback will cost you a tenner. That's more than 10 times. It's insane. It's actually insane. But anyways, after that, I went into the Old Bank bookstore, and this one I picked up The Spirit Engineer by A.J. West. This is set in Belfast in 1914, a few years after the sinking of the Titanic, where spiritualism is very popular, and it follows our main protagonist, William Jackson Crawford, who is very much a skeptic, and until a couple of things happen that has him doubting himself. And apparently it's based on a true story, so I don't know, I just thought it was a lot of fun, and it's been a while since I've read sort of like turn of the century, not quite steampunk, but definitely Victoriana pseudoscience. I love pseudoscience. So yeah, thought that would be a lot of fun. Where did I go after that? I've already told you guys. Remind me, where did I go? Oh yes, I went into Booked and Baked and I did not buy anything because disappointment all around. But, and it's a big but, well-read books more than made up for it. I think I spent, I don't know how long I spent in there browsing, but I had a really, really good time. So I picked up Wandering Souls by Cecile Pinn. This is about three girls who, it's set not long after America withdraws their last soldiers from Vietnam, so in the years following from the Vietnam War. It follows three sisters who managed to, they essentially like leave Vietnam in the hopes of a new life, and through twists and turns find themselves living in Thatcher era Britain. And it is the trials that they go through trying to make a life for themselves. So yeah, I don't know, a little different from what I normally read, but something about it was like, I think I need to read this. I think I want to. So I grabbed it, and I've not seen anyone speaking about this. To be fair, I think with the exception of Song of Achilles, I don't think I've really heard anyone speaking about any of the books I've been picking up this week, which is really good for me, which is kind of what I wanted. Like, I don't want to be buying something that I can get back home in Inverness. But yeah, I've not heard anyone speaking about this. I've not heard any reviews or anything, but I don't know. I think it'll be a very good read. And then I also picked up Knitted Toys This is just a book of knitting patterns with various toys. Let's not look at Jojo the Clown because he's terrifying. Like, why would you make that the cover? Like, why? Why would you make that the cover? He's terrifying. But there's like a pattern for a witch, which is really cute. You can make the cat and the pumpkin. There is patterns also for the cat and the pumpkin, not just the witch. You can make like various animals, various doll patterns. There are actually, it says there's more than 80 patterns, so I'm sure I'll get I'll make at least a couple of them. And lastly, I picked up, now I'm not going to unwrap this here because I have an idea for sort of like a follow-up vlog to tie in with one of the last vlogs I did, which was my reading the date with the book that I bought myself. I did it again. I picked up. The only description of this is that it is a fine mix of novels. And as far as I can tell, just from sort of like feeling and sort of like trying to figure out, there is 3 books. So one is like relatively small, one is medium sized, and then one is slightly chunkier. But 3 novels for a £5. If all of them are complete duds, well, altogether they only cost me a £5. So I'm not going to complain. But what I want to do is maybe in a few weeks have a follow-up vlog where I read the 3 books that I bought on holiday, that I bought from Melvide Books. But yeah, that is it. That is it for today. So tomorrow will be my last full day in Wigtown. I think I've only got 2 bookstores I really want to visit. Like realistically, I think I've only got 2 left. So there's New Chapter, and then there's one that I kind of forgot about that I ended up looking up earlier because I knew I was missing something and I just had to check. So earlier today when I was sort of like still wandering about a little bit, it's great, there are like signs up all around like the town centre bit, where I'll be like, you know, post office, bookshops, doctor surgery, bookshops, golf course, bookshops. Well, I followed one of these signs to bookshops and I couldn't find a bookshop as I went down this road. And a bit of Googling and searching later showed me that if I'd walked for like 30 seconds, a minute more, I'd have found the bookshop. I gave up too early. Way too early. Just too early. And this bookshop is called Sign of the Dragon. And it is a fantasy sci-fi bookshop. So obviously I got to go there. But yeah, so I think my plan for tomorrow is morning as normal. I'm naturally waking up about, I've not set an alarm or anything this week, but I am naturally waking up about 8. So I'll probably just get up, have some breakfast, read for a bit, then leave the house about 10:30, 11, head in, check out my 2 bookstores, and then probably go back to reading Lasses for lunch, maybe, and then just sort of like take it from there, see what happens. I might check out the Emporium, and I think there's like one other non-bookish shop, so we'll see. Yeah, but anyway, I am going to get back to my reading. This is my setup on the sofa. It's gonna be me back underneath my blanket. I say my blanket. The cottage provides literally everything you need, including the blankets. They know, like, so far, I think, so obviously this is like my 3rd day, I've had 2 nights. And if anyone is looking for, if any of you watching this are like, actually, you know what, having seen everything I've done so far, if you think you're like, actually, I could see myself having like a couple of days in Wigtown, check out Story Cottage. It's on booking.com. I don't know if it's anywhere else. I found it on booking.com. Absolutely worth it. I think I've paid 250, I think it was, for the 4 nights. I got the entire cottage to itself. It's a king size bed upstairs, so it's just one bedroom, but upstairs, and the bathroom, and the bathroom. Although it's just a shower, there's no bath. But it's a king size bed, but there's also a single bed, and that room is not crowded at all. It's actually really lovely and spacious. And then down here, obviously, you got like sitting area, and you got the kitchen area at the back. But they've literally provided everything you need. They know who is staying. They know who their clients are, their customers are, their guests are, whoever you want to describe us. It's come with like a little welcome package, which included a couple of bottles of wine, some crisps, shortbread, croissants for your breakfast. There was milk in the fridge, which bless their hearts. Tea and coffee is all provided. Yeah, there is like a small selection of books here, which I won't bother showing you, to be honest, because it's faffy. But it's essentially a whole bunch of Lee Child, James Patterson. It's kind of like they just went onto like one shelf in a charity shop and plonked it there. So I don't know if these are just like random books that have been left by previous guests or not. It's a nice touch, just absolutely nothing on that shelf appealed to me whatsoever. But yeah, all of like the towels and linen and everything have been provided, and it's just like such nice little touches. Like there are blankets, like there's the one I'm using, but there's also another one here, and it's just been furnished and finished to just a really, really nice, quite high standard, especially for the price that I've paid, which I think is really reasonable. So yeah, I feel like this is me pitching it to you, because I am absolutely pitching it to you. I will come back to Wigtown, probably in a couple of years, and if I can stay here again, 100% I will. Yeah. But on that note, I'm going to shut up now, because I'm definitely rambling, and I want to go back to my book and continue watching The Untamed. And maybe have another cup of tea. Glass of wine? Something. Anyway, I'll chat to you tomorrow. Alright, so let me tell you about day 3. Thursday, so I mean, is it day 3 or is it day 4? I arrived on Monday evening, but it's the 3rd full day. My last full day. But either way, let me tell you about how I've spent Thursday so far. Bear in mind it's only about 3:30. It's my usual getting home time. Yeah, standard, lazy morning, sat, read for a little bit. I actually started reading a fanfiction on my laptop, so didn't make any more progress on Song of Achilles, but that was fine. We don't mind. Left about 10:30. First, I took a walk up to the Sign of the Dragon, only to realise it doesn't open till 12. But I did actually find it. That was the one I couldn't find yesterday. It's literally the last house in Wigtown. Like, you go up that street, and I genuinely, like, I got to the point where I was like, this doesn't exist. The internet lied to me. The book map lied to me. If the lighting goes a bit funny in this clip, it's because it's a motion sensor light in the porch area, and I think a fly keeps setting off. But yeah, anyway, as I turned around and then saw like this small sign, because I literally made it to the edge of town. It was the last house. There was nothing else, just fields after it. But yeah, I turned around and I did see this little sign. At the Sign of the Dragon, open 12 till 6. So right, that's fine. I walked to sort of like 10-15 minutes back into town. I went into, oh gosh, what's it called? The Book Festival bookshop. That's not actually what it's called, but I can't remember its name off the top of my head. Like I say, I have visited so many bookshops in the last 3 days. But I popped in there,
They have a very small selection of books, but all of them are brand new. They make a point of not stocking anything secondhand, um, just because that's what the majority of the other bookstores are. And that store is less specifically about being a bookstore and more about being a central point for the book festival throughout the year. Um, but that was nice. I was chatting away to the owner there. He was lovely. I bought a couple of books as I was like it was inevitable. There so far has been I think 2 out of the 12 bookstores I have been to that I have not bought something from. It's fine. We're fine. My finances are we don't want to talk about them right now, but it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, anyway, I came out of there. I went into there's a little antique store and I had a good 20 minutes or so just sort of like browsing around there. I actually came away with a necklace, which I'll show you later. I again had a really lovely chat with the woman that's in there. I think with one exception, every two small exceptions, everyone I have spoken to in this town, be it another visitor, a shop owner, anyone, everyone, a resident, a local, they have all been so incredibly warm and welcoming and so friendly, and they are just happy you're here. And they're happy that you are exploring and you love their little town as well. So yeah. After the antique store, I went into New Chapter Books. I was planning on going in there yesterday, but they were closed, so I went in there today. That was again another lovely little store. I bought a book and a mug. At which point, what did I do after that? Oh, I popped up to the Emporium, which is kind of like an antique slash boutique. More of a focus on like jewellery and china and things. Pet a really, really adorable little corgi who just appeared out of nowhere. It was a shop owner's dog. But it's like I swear, like I walked in, had a little circuit, and then suddenly there was a dog there, and I was like, wow, that makes the visit all worth it. There wasn't really anything in there that caught my eye, so I didn't bother. Then I grabbed lunch at Reading Lasses, and it was so good again. I actually got soup this time. It was a tomato. Let me see. I'm gonna get this right. It was tomato with apricot, harissa, and chickpea, and it was perfect. It's too bright. She says on like the least bright day that's been here. You can't really see it out there, but it is dull. It's windy. It's blustery. It's quite grey. It hasn't started raining. I don't think it started raining yet, but I fully expect it to at some point. It's actually been nicer than I thought it was going to be so far today. So yeah, I sat there. I was in there for about an hour. After my soup, I also ordered a slice of cake, which was an orange and stem ginger. So it was like an orange sponge with stem ginger. I think it was just like a mascarpone buttercream, but like it had actual stem ginger throughout it. It was just so good. They sat me down on the sofa in sort of like the front room, where a lot of the books are. So I just got comfy and I read my book for a little while. After that, I went to, and then finally made my way to At the Sign of the Dragon. And yeah, that was an experience. Okay, this bookstore was an experience. It was worth it, but it was an experience. So I walk in, I get there, and initially it looked like the bookstore is essentially in like a separate garage area from the house. So that's fine. I walk in there and there's like this little old man shuffles about. He's like, he introduces himself, and asks, he's like, you here for anything specific? And I was like, well, I heard you had a really good fantasy selection. And he's like, oh, that's in the other part. So, okay. It was mostly the bit where he was in was mostly like crime and detective novels, which I'm really not into, guys. So that's fine. So he shuffles and hobbles, and I follow out of the what I thought was like the bookstore area into his house. Yeah, yeah. At this point, I'm going, I can't turn around now, but I'm going to die. Because this is kind of creepy. Because I think for the most part he was harmless, but he was also, like, he wasn't giving off I'm completely harmless vibes. He wasn't giving off creepy. Like, I wouldn't go so far as to say he was creepy. But I just had that sense of, like, I shouldn't be in here on my own. I should not be in here on my own. But it was fine. I was committed. So we walk in, and the initial, like, hallway area, now this is literally his house. He's turned into a bookstore. The initial, like, hallway bit is sort of like anthologies and TV tie-ins, which I'm not interested in. And then we kind of go back, like, through his kitchen, which, I mean, it was clean, but it was not tidy. And then into what would have presumably at one point been like a living room or a dining room, and it's just shelves upon shelves upon shelves of books. And he mutters something about, whilst you're browsing here, I'll put the light on in the other room, let it heat up. But I wasn't fully, didn't properly register what it was saying. But anyway, I start browsing. And by the time I finish browsing, oh, by the way, everything is alphabetical. Series order. It was an organizational dream. But yeah, I start browsing, and I'm about halfway through browsing, and thankfully someone else turned up. Because all this while it's just been me and this little old man in his house. Something I was acutely aware of. Just saying. But yeah, I finished browsing this area, and I'm a little bit confused because it kind of really only goes up to sort of like K, the authors. So I'm like, I feel like this is only half of it. Bear in mind, my brain has not registered his comment about heating up the other room. But that's fine. It's okay that I'm confused. It's okay that they only go up to K, because I've already got a significant stack of books. I refer you to the bag. This is full of books. Full of books. Okay? As usual, you'll get the book haul later. So yeah, I bring these to him at his kitchen table, where he's drinking a cup of tea that he made in the microwave, okay? I know he made it in the microwave because I heard the microwave ting. And I judged so incredibly hard. It did not add to my comfort levels. In fact, it definitely added to my discomfort levels, okay? But yeah, that was fine. So then he's like, oh, well, while I total these up, do you want to go explore the other room? Which it was actually the garage. So it was like, you go into the back into like the hallway where the anthologies were, and there's like a door off that, and that's the garage. And I walk in there and I go, oh. Yeah, this man's getting a lot of my money. And in my brain, I'm doing math going, how much is left in my spending account? Because, like, the way I have my finances, I've got my pay goes into my main account, that's where all my bills come out of, and I put a certain amount of money every month onto my spending account. I'd put a little extra in there because I knew I was coming on this holiday, but I hadn't put that much extra in it. And then my brain went, Amy, you have your credit card on you, it's fine. And then the logical part of my brain went, the rational part of my brain went, you might regret this, but fuck it, go for it. So when all parts of my brain are going, when in Rome, you know, how often do you come to Wigtown? And quite frankly, this is the most impressive selection of secondhand sci-fi fantasy books I have ever come across. I saw authors I'd never heard of. Some authors I had heard of with some titles. It's like you'd never see that anywhere. Excuse me. So it's like, yeah, and it's not just quite often you'll see them where it's like, so like Leakey's has a really really great selection, but it tends to focus on fantasy and sci-fi, sort of like 70s and earlier. It's a lot of really retro sci-fi, whereas he had a huge selection from the super retro stuff all the way up to sort of like the tens and noughties, and some newer stuff. So I got you've already seen the bag. I got a lot. Okay, I got a really good selection. I did discover something about myself that I guess it's not something I've newly discovered, but I definitely confirmed something about myself, and that is I do not find myself drawn to fantasy written by male authors anymore. I'm fairly certain. I mean, there might be an exception, maybe, but I'm fairly certain that everything in that bag is written by a woman. So yeah. But yeah. While he was totaling up, I went into that room and came out with another stack of books. Also, I was in like the garage room. The other guy, the other customer who turned up, he was specifically looking for sci-fi. So it's quite interesting. Is like I was looking specifically for fantasy. He was for sci-fi. We had no crossover. It was interesting. Yeah, he pretty much had the same reaction I did, where he's like, "Oh yeah, there," and he popped into this room and was just like, "Oh." So I could not help myself. I had to like pop my head round and was like, did your wallet wince when you came in here as well? And he's like, yeah, yeah. He was the old man, the bookseller, was obviously totaling up. By the time I gone back to him to pay for my books, he'd totaled up both me and the sci-fi guys' totals, and well, I think I definitely got off lighter. I think by the looks of it, I bought like twice as much books as he did, but paid probably half the price. Just a lot of the books I bought, I wasn't actually paying attention to the price, especially after my brain had decided, like, once I kind of was like, fuck it, we're just putting this on my credit card, because how often do I make it down here, It's going to be at least a couple of more years before I do this again, so we're fine. But yeah, a lot of the books, so yeah, I really wasn't paying attention to the price, but like looking at it, it's like a lot of the books were only like $4.50 or $5, so whereas pretty much everything that the pro sci-fi guy was buying was like £9. It looked like he bought the C.S. Lewis space trilogy, because I always forget C.S. Lewis wrote more than just Narnia. But yeah, that was like 25 quid. So my wallet, my bank account, my purse, we definitely got off lighter than pro sci-fi dude. But yeah, after that I decided, bear in mind, I was in at the Sign of the Dragon for probably about an hour and a half. That's how much there was there. Like, easily the biggest, best curated selection of secondhand sci-fi fantasy in Scotland, probably in the UK. Hands down. So yeah, I was in there for about an hour and a half. I at that point went, I should probably cut my losses here. I should cut myself off. I'm cutting myself off. I'm not allowed to go back to any of the bookstores. I'm not allowed to buy another book this year. I'm contemplating, like, should I just cancel all my pre-orders? I won't, because actually I don't think any of my pre-orders are due until January at this point anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, I decided, I was like, that enough's enough. I'm coming back to my little home away from home. And yeah, I'm going to nip out in a few minutes to the co-op. Because I had at one point been contemplating maybe driving into Newton Stewart, which is like the next town 10 minutes up the road, which is, it's bigger than Wigtown, and actually has a couple of restaurants or inns, somewhere where I can get food in the evening. I've decided against that. I've spent more money than, I probably spent just as much money today as I had the previous two combined. It was unexpected. like, I knew I was going to buy a couple of things from it, the Sign of the Dragon. I didn't expect to buy as much as I did. Not nearly as much as I did. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So yeah, I'm going to nip out to the co-op and grab a couple of things. I've still got, like, pasta left over. I bought spaghetti for last night's dinner. So I've got that, I've got oil, I've got garlic, I've got chili. So I'll just go get a couple of bits. Maybe some mushrooms or tomatoes or something. And yeah, I'll just make dinner here again. Oh. Oh, guys. What am I like? I'm on such a book buying ban. Yeah. No one's getting Christmas this year because I spent all of my Christmas present money on books. That's all there is to it. But anyways, I will chat to you later tonight with maybe a reading update. But I will definitely give you the book haul in a bit after I've gone and bought my dinner. Hey, so yeah, it's a few hours later. I have just finished my dinner. We need to talk about the books I bought today. Oh boy, did I go overboard. Ooh. I went truly overboard. So, the first books that I got 3 books in whatever bookshop I told you I went into first. The festival bookshop. Yeah, nope. So the first one I got was Nightshade by E.S. Thompson. Basically this is a Victorian murder mystery with poison being involved. Say no more. That's all I needed to know. But on top of that, it's also signed. So, you know, girl, it's a Victorian murder mystery and it's signed. Of course I was buying it. Then I bought All the Galaxies by Philip Miller. And I'm going to apologise. I'm going to be sniffling all the way through this because I put way too much chili in my pasta. And I'm going to be like this for the rest of the night. So it's like, I could hold off filming this, but it's going to make no difference. So just expect there to be a whole bunch of cuts and a bunch of sniffling that I can't avoid. It's just how it is. But yes, the next book I bought was All of the Galaxies by Philip Miller. This is, to be honest, like I haven't even read this bit yet because, one, I've never heard of this, so I love the fact that I'm buying books I've never heard of before, which really makes coming here worth it, I think. But there's this description on the back. All the Galaxies gives us a vivid image of dystopian Scotland, then adds to it a rush of intergalactic flight, the devil, mass murder, some luminous jellyfish, and a poignant portrayal of a struggling single father. That is to say, it's unsettling and uncommon, and darkly atmospheric, with disarming flashes of hope and beauty. I was sold. I'm sold. It's dystopian in Scotland with luminous jellyfish. So I want to go into this as absolutely blind as possible, and I want to know what's with the presumably sleeping, hopefully sleeping, dog on the cover. Yeah. If you guys want to know more about this, I'm afraid you're going to have to look it up yourself because I don't want to know more about it. I just want to read it. And I want to go in as blind as possible. And speaking of going in as blind as possible, that was a really nice segue. I bought another mystery book. This one, again, it has even less description than yesterday's mystery books. There's literally nothing. That's it. This is all I got. So yeah, I'll figure this one out when I get around to unwrapping it. Then after that, the next store I bought from was New Chapter, and I bought Wild Scottish Knight. This is basically about an American woman who inherits a Scottish castle, But the twist is she is now the Knight Protector and has to learn how to fight as a knight. There's magic involved, and naturally she is being trained by a grumpy hot Highlander. I just figured this is going to be a really fun, quick, easy, trashy read for when I need a book that is literally brain off, no thoughts. And this will cover this quite nicely. Oh! I did not realize you put a bookmark in there. Nice. But yes, this one also happens to be signed. Personalised to Lou. I don't know who Lou is. I am not Lou, but yeah, we know I love a signed book. And yeah, that was me. Finished my book shopping. Until I got to the side of the dragon. So, let's take a sip of our wine first. And let's just do this, shall we? So, first off, I got book 1 and 3. Did not have book 2, but they were in such good condition that I'll pick up book 2 if I really enjoy book 1. But it's books 1 and 3 of the Rune Blade trilogy. So we start with Kingmaker's Sword and finish with Broken Blade by Anne Marston. And this is basically about two warring clans. I think it's going to be potentially an enemies to lovers. She is trying to find the Rune Blade that will save their people. Yeah, I don't know, it just sounded really interesting, so I figured why not. I'd already decided on my credit card by this point. Then we have Rhapsody by Elizabeth Hayden. Blurbed by Anne McCaffrey. Rhapsody is a woman, a singer of some talent, swept up in the events of world-shattering import. On the run from her ex. Rescued by bandits, was it? No, a couple of shady characters. That rescue turns into a kidnapping, and epic voyages ensue. Like I say, it just sounded really interesting. Next up, Predestined by R. Garland Gray. It literally says fantasy romance right on the spine, and the tagline is in an ancient realm of magic, love has a destiny of its own. I literally picked this up because, you know, when I'm next in the mood for a fantasy romance, we've got something lined up. I'm really bad at describing fantasy because I feel like until I've read it, I don't actually know what the book's about because the blurb only tells you so much. Right, next up, so I also have this thing, right, if I'm in a secondhand bookstore and book 1 of a series or a trilogy sounds really interesting and I want that, I will then buy the entire trilogy because there's nothing worse than coming across a set of books where, oh, they sound really interesting, but book 1's missing because someone just took book 1. I mean, fair play to them and all of, like, actually, they probably have it better because it's a much financially healthier decision to make. Why buy 3 books you might not like when you can buy 1 book you might like and go back for the rest? I don't have that. I can't do it. So, I bought a trilogy. I bought more than 1 trilogy. But this is the Dragon Nimbus trilogy by Irene Radford. It starts with the Glass Dragon, moves on to the Perfect Princess, and concludes with the Loneliest Magician. And this is basically set in a world where dragons are endangered, so we send the most unlikely of heroes, the worst in his class, to investigate and figure out what's happening to them. That's all I needed to know, folks. That's all we need to know. Please note, we are maybe halfway through the back. Next up, which I think this is actually the very first book I picked up, but that is Unicorn and Dragon by Lynn Abbey. And this is an epic fantasy. I think it's technically 2 books in this one. 2 complete novels in one, so 2 for the price of 1. Yay! But it is an epic fantasy centering around two sisters. Wolves are loose in the English countryside. A dying monarch cannot enforce the laws, and his heirs are circling like vultures. A small castle that is Halfbinder Manor is thrown into chaos on the arrival of a mysterious young stranger, too badly wounded to explain his plans. And I think the sisters have to team up to save the castle, the rain, the world, magic, something or other. Yep, I'm here for it. It's Halfbinder Manor suggests that this is more like Welsh inspired. So I've not actually, other than Arthurian legends, I've not read too much Welsh inspired fantasy, so excited for that. Okay, next up we have Magic Bites by Ilona Andrews. This is a paranormal romance. I think it's romance. It's definitely paranormal, along the same lines as Patricia Briggs. And I've kind of been slowly wanting to get back into that. And Ilona Andrews is an author that I see sort of like recommended often. So when I saw her, I just figured, just grab it. Why not? We've got a bit of a chunky trilogy next. And this is the Demon Child trilogy by Jennifer Fallon. I have another Jennifer Fallon on my TBR shelves, which is Wolfblade, I think. Which I think I bought when I was sort of like late high school and still haven't gotten around to reading. Even though every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. I should read that soon. And then I just never do. So I figured, why not buy another Jennifer Fallon trilogy? Oh, I don't know. But I think this is basically a book about it's a race to find the lost heir of an ancient kingdom. They may or may not need to destroy this heir who is half demon. Secrets hidden, gotta find them out. Yeah. Describing this all really badly and makes you think that I'm not that interested, but I really am. Sorry, I had a moment where I was like, oh wait, 1, 2, does that work? Not quite, okay. There's like bits on the side that I thought maybe they match up, but they don't. Oh well. Then I picked up City of Sorcery by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is the first Darkover novel. This was definitely the cheapest one. It was £2 because it is really not in great condition. But I've been wanting to try more Marion Zimmer Bradley. I've read 1 or 2 of her things, and I'm fairly certain that this is the first of the Darkover novels. So I figured I would just give it a shot, and if I only manage to get 1 read out of it, then that's all that matters. I'll know whether I want to invest more into the rest of the series. And then finally, look, the bag is empty. Just. You guessed it. It's another trilogy. This is the Axis trilogy by Sarah Douglas. So we have Battle Axe, Enchanter, and Starman. Yeah, and basically this is a trilogy about trying to save their country, lands from invaders, and it is likened to, it says it's an epic fantasy, the tradition of Jenny Wirtz, David Eddings, and Robert Jordan. I have read all 3 of these, and they're all the type of they all write that sort of fantasy that I grew up absolutely loving. David Eddings was the very first fantasy author I read. Jenny Wirtz wrote the Empire trilogy alongside Raymond Feist, and Robert Jordan, I mean, if he'd written something other than Wheel of Time, I'm sure I would have loved it. I gave up on book 5. But I really enjoyed what I read up until then, so if you're telling me that this is the same type of fantasy, then I'm here for it. But yeah, that's everything I bought today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 books. Excuse me. Sorry. That was 20 books. One of my end of year end of year. One of my goals for the end of the year was to get my physical TBR to sub 160, I think. Although I would have been ideally like sub 170, like ideally sub 160, but I'd have been happy with sub 170. It's currently sitting at 182, and this is going to take it into like the 220s. Started the year 180 something. Was not supposed to add this many books to it. Yeah. I don't know what to do. I've got a lot of happy reading time ahead of me, like, that's for certain. I'm not gonna not enjoy this. But, yeah. Oh boy. I need to sit down and have a serious think about what I want my reading goals for next year to be are, especially in terms of reducing my physical TBR and how I can make that achievable. Because I don't just want to straight up put myself on a buying ban, because we all know that those don't work. So how do I get around this? If you guys have any thoughts, any suggestions, go for it. I'm thinking, so like off the top of my head, I'm thinking maybe something like I'm allowed to buy a book for every 5 I read that I already own, or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, I was gonna give you guys a reading update, wasn't I? I'm on chapter 15, page 154. Yes, I'm leaving my book set like this because this book refuses to let the bookmark stay in it. I've taken it out of my bag like 3 or 4 times today, and every time without fail, the bookmark is lying at the bottom of my bag. It just refuses to hang on to a bookmark, so yeah. I probably will still be reading it when I get home tomorrow night. I'm gonna have to swap over to a magnetic bookmark that clips onto the top of the page. Otherwise, who knows? It's weird. Like, I used to, if you'd asked me a few years ago, I almost never used bookmarks. I just dealt with it and kind of vaguely knew where I was. Now I always, without fail, use a bookmark, and I'm struggling, guys. It's weird. I don't want to go back to those dark ages, those dark times. But yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm about 154 pages into it. Heartache is starting. Really, really enjoying this. Like, it is a high 4-star, potential 5-star. Definitely glad I picked it up. Enjoying it enough that I've not picked up 1 year's time again since I initially started reading that, because I'd rather be reading this. I think 1 year's time is definitely more of a lazy sedate Sunday book, so I might continue reading that this weekend. But yeah, like I say, heartache is already happening, and they are being idiots in love. They're idiots in love. This is ultimately a story about idiots in love. And they be idiots. They be such idiots. Oh, that's such lovable idiots. So yeah. I think they're currently, like, people have just turned up to where they are, and I'm like, you guys are ready to be dragged into that war that we all know you were part of. Curses. Like, why couldn't they just be left on the mountain with the centaur? They were happy there. What was wrong with leaving them happy on the mountain, secluded with their centaur buddy? No. Sure, fine, why not? Let's make them miserable for someone else's gain. Fine. So yeah, suffice to say, really, really enjoying that. I'm gonna continue reading that. I've got like 3 chapters of the fanfic I'm reading right now. It's just an untamed fanfic, but it's like over 100,000 words. So yeah, wasn't paying attention when I started that. Otherwise, I would have done a lot more like physical reading on this holiday. But hey ho, I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time, and I'm relaxing, which was pretty much the point of this time away. So yeah. Anyways, I will probably chat to you guys tomorrow. I have to leave tomorrow. Checkout is at 10 o'clock, so I'm probably going to get up early-ish. I'll set my alarm for 8, so if I'm not already awake by then, I'll definitely be awake by then. So I can get dressed. I think I'll have a shower tonight. Probably have a shower after I've chatted to you guys. Um, yeah, I'll get up, get dressed, have some breakfast, and then pack and tidy and make my way home. I don't know if this is stupid or not, but I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to put my Wi-Fi or anything on. I'm going to leave my phone on airplane mode. Um, while I drive back north, I know to leave Wigtown I need to head to Newton Stewart, and then I figure if I follow signs either pointing north or towards Dumfries, and then I figure eventually I'll hit a sign towards Glasgow and Edinburgh. Yeah. If not, I'll end up in England. We're relatively close to the borders here, so. But yeah, I kind of just want to do that and just maybe not switch my phone back on flight mode until Saturday and just really make the last the best of my switched off time. Fab. Right. Once again, this has been a huge, great long update, and you guys are probably sick of my voice especially if you've made it this far in. So yeah, I will chat to you guys tomorrow for one last update.
Well, hey, welcome to the wrap up. I have all my books with me. Let's see if I can get them all in. Yes, I have been playing Final Fantasy X2. Oh no, I have to sort you out again. Oh, this was a... Why did I do this? Why do I make the choices I do? I don't know. But yeah, here are all my books. I figure I should wrap up this vlog. Wigtown was amazing. I got up really early on Friday morning. Sorry, it's now Sunday evening. I just didn't speak to you guys again after I filmed on Thursday evening. And I have been watching figure skating all weekend, so, you know. But yeah, I got up, I think I got up like 8, half 8 on Friday. I didn't really have too much to pack other than these guys, which were already kind of half packed anyway. So I did that, did a little quick tidy up, stripped the bed, and that sort of thing. And by about 9:15, I was on the road. I stopped very briefly in Newton Stewart to put some fuel in the car, and then just kind of followed. I didn't put the Wi-Fi back on my phone. I kept it on airplane mode. I stayed disconnected for all of Friday as well, which was really nice. Um, I followed signs to Dumfries. Had a nice little drive. It's actually, you know what, the entire drive was so pretty and scenic. But I followed signs to Dumfries and then to Moffat. And then I could have taken the M74 up towards Edinburgh, Glasgow. And I know from there I'd have been able to nip onto the M9 and eventually the A9. But instead I chose to take the scenic route to Edinburgh, so that's the A701 for anyone who's familiar with that part. And it's such a pretty road to drive in, especially at this time of year. I don't normally encourage tourists in Scotland, despite the fact that I've just been one myself for the week. But here's the thing, if you are going to do any kind of road trip in Scotland, do it in autumn. I genuinely think it's when our country is at its prettiest and its most picturesque, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, I actually ended up stopping in Moffat for sort of like a late breakfast. I think I got there about 10:30, 11ish. Had a nice wee breakfast there, and then I kept driving. Like I say, up the A701, hit the Edinburgh bypass of all things. Should have expected that. Genuinely do not know how I kind of went from Dumfries up to Edinburgh, whereas like I kind of should have gone up that way. I very much took the long scenic route, is what I'm saying. And then yeah, up the A9, paused in Perth, grabbed a donut from Tim Hortons and got a wee pumpkin spice latte there. Fun fact, cost almost as much for the latte, and the donut cost pretty much like the same as like a latte, a pumpkin spice latte on its own from Starbucks, because Starbucks I think is like genuinely getting ridiculous right now with its seasonal drinks in terms of pricing. I'm annoyed at that because I love a pumpkin spice latte. And then yeah, then I drove home, and I think I did stop by the supermarket to get a couple of things, milk, etc. But yeah, I was home by about 4 o'clock, so it took me a little longer to drive home than it did down, because going down I did follow Google. I followed Google Maps instructions. Did I tell you it took me on single track road? It took me, I don't know why it chose the route it did, but without fail, if I go on holiday in the UK, I am going to end up on single track road. Without fail. But yeah, this time Google took me on National Cycle Road 7, which is like 30 miles long. So it was like 30 solid miles of single track road. Who knows? We don't question it. We just follow. So yeah, but that was it. That was the end of my holiday, and I came home and I fussed the cat, who she has spent the last 2.5 days simultaneously bugging the hell out of me. No, she's not really been bugging me, but she has been very, very clingy. This is one of the few occasions, and I'm fairly certain it's just because I took my phone out to actually film, but yeah, she has not left me alone. She has been very clingy, but at the same time, she has sworn at me a lot, and I do mean a lot. Honestly, if I understood cat language, I know I would be scandalized at her vocabulary. So yeah, but all in all, Wigtown, absolutely loved my time there. Just being able to switch my phone off and not be connected, and literally I genuinely just gave myself that week. It was great. The town is so welcoming and friendly. I mean, the book festival the book festival had just been a couple of weeks before I went, so by all accounts, like, the town, everyone was exhausted. All the bookstore owners, the cafe owners, they were all recovering from like a really manic couple of weeks and all the prep leading up to it, so they were all completely within their right to just be like, yeah, fine, whatever, you know. If ever I think there's going to be a time where customer service is going to be just a little bit lower, I think this would have been the week. But it was so incredible. Like, every store I entered, I was met with a smile, a welcome. Like, they're all genuinely happy to be running their bookstores or their cafes. Like, you can tell that this is where their passions lie. It's not just a job to them, and they want to come in, they want to have a chat with you. So yeah, the cottage was brilliant. I got all of the books. So I mean, I think I started this video saying that we were going to review a Booktown. We have to review Wigtown. It's getting 6 out of 5 stars because it was absolutely brilliant. I've spoken to a couple of friends since I came home, and I have been raving about it and absolutely recommending it to them. Like, you've got to go. I will be returning at some point. I think it might become sort of like my go-to getaway stop, just because at any given time in the day you can stop in a cafe, you can get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and a slice of cake at any point through the day. There are so many nice walks to go on around there. Like I say, the people are so friendly. There's all the books to read. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what's not to love about it. But anyway, I will wrap this up here. That has been my time on my adventuring in Wigtown. No, I won't wrap it up. I'll tell you about reading. Song of Achilles. I have this much left. I feel like I should have waited until I finished this to wrap it up, but let's just do it now whilst I'm in the mood to film. I am really enjoying this. I'm not entirely convinced it's a 5 stars, just because I made it here last night, about 10 o'clock, and I put it down and went to bed. When I am on page 287 of a 352 page book, so when I have got what? 287, watch me do math, 65 pages left? I should be saying, like, that will take me an hour at most to read. So not only have I not picked it up again today, I mean I will, I'll finish this tonight, I'm fairly certain. But not only have I not been scrambling to pick this up, I've been watching figure skating, and I actually played a bit of Final Fantasy, as you saw earlier. I put it down last night. If this was a 5-star book, I would have just went, screw it, it's Saturday night, I'll just stay up as long as I need to get it finished. I have no reason to get up tomorrow, but I didn't, I put it down. So I think for that reason, like, I can't quite justify giving it 5 stars. Like I said though, I am really enjoying it. I absolutely love Patroclus. He is such a sweetheart, and he's just a bit too much of a bleeding heart. Like, these guys, they don't deserve him. Achilles, I'm not as attached to as I want to be. I think is what it comes down to as well. Achilles is an idiot. And he kind of went from being a lovable idiot to just straight up being an idiot. Which is not helping. But yeah, probably, I think I can definitely say that this is of the Greek mythology retellings that I've come across and that I've actually read. This is probably my favourite one so far. And I can absolutely understand why it's hyped as the way it is. I think it is deserving of that. I can understand why it is so popular and it is on so many recommendation lists. But yeah, now I can wrap up. If you made it this far, thank you and well done. Like if you like, subscribe if you want to, I guess. And I will see you in my next video, which will probably be a vlog. See you guys later.